going to, I mean, for me, at a certain point with environmental things, it's like, particularly with the Willamette River. I mean, what at the point you give up on a river, what's next? Well, there's a point that we were, you know, what are you going to tell your kids? Well, there's a time that we were living in Portland, we could actually breathe the air. You didn't have to wear these oxygen masks all the time. Like, at what point are you going to draw a line in the sand and say, this is fucked up bullshit? We should fight for our river. So, the good news is, yes. I mean, from the point that the Willamette was at its worst, in my mind, when, you know, fish would swim through and suffocate. Are you fucking kidding me? That's crazy. To the point now that we put in the big pipe system, it used to be after a tenth of an inch of rain, raw sewage would flow directly into the Willamette. There was a combined sewer overflow today, but it was a crazy heavy rain. I mean, since the big pipe was put in...
It's a lot of money, though.
Yeah, $1.4 billion is a shitload of money.
Right, to not work?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it does work, actually.
What are you saying, since the big pipe came in, what?
Since the big pipe came in September 2011, I think it was, there's been less than 10 combined sewer overflows between September 2011 and now. It used to be after a tenth of an inch of rain, there would be a combined sewer overflow. In the summertime, it is a thing of the past. Now, anytime there's a combined sewer overflow, it kind of hurts me a little bit. I don't ever like hearing about it. But from a practical standpoint, I am going to be swimming in the river in the summertime. I would prefer it not to happen ever, but it's going to, I mean, fortunately we do not get rains like the rains we get today in the summertime. So the thing that I'm excited about is that combined sewer overflows in the summer are virtually a thing of the past. It does do that, and with all the green infrastructure projects, anybody notice all of these kind of curb cut things that are happening where they kind of scoop out all this dirt, there's plants.
Bioswales?
The bioswales.
Bioswales.
The function of those bioswales, just in case anybody doesn't know, is to collect the rainwater so there's less pressure on the big pipe.
Right.
So, I mean, the more these bioswales are put in, the more effective our big pipe is going to be.
But thank God we defeated the Pebbles Water District.
Yeah, sure.
I do have a question. So all the bad stuff is in sediment, right? Like it settles down to there. But doesn't that mean it has to like go through the water to get to the sediment? Like isn't that how? So like, isn't it still in the water on the way there?
Yeah, but it's old dumping. It's stuff from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
It just sits down there. Nobody really dumps toxic waste anymore. But in the old days, before we got fucking smart, like 20 years ago,
So it's don't touch bottom. So just don't touch the ground. When you're
Right, yes.
In the Superfund site.
Okay.
And even in the Superfund site, it is a Superfund site, and but the principal contaminant in the Willamette is a compound called PCBs. It's a compound that was developed by Monsanto.
You know what? The way when you smile, it doesn't seem like that big a deal.
It's just hilarious.
It's called PCBs.
It just cracks me up that Monsanto had some hand in creating PCBs because I hate the fuck out.
What does that stand for?
Poly something bullshit. I don't know. I hate it and I wish it could be gone, but unfortunately it does not break down organically. The only way to get rid of it is either to cap it or scoop it up. But in terms of human health, the only way that it's going to, the principal risk with PCBs is that it's a bioaccumulant, it is a carcinogen, but resident fish will eat the sediment because PCB binds to sediment. It really likes binding to sediment just from a chemical standpoint. So fish will eat the PCBs, it stores up in their fatty tissue, it accumulates. So if humans eat resident fish, it's like eating a PCB nugget. Otherwise, yeah, which really sucks, and I'm sure it sucks for the fish to have PCBs in them, and I imagine birds eat them too. It's fucked up bullshit. But ultimately, for humans, getting into the river, having risk of PCBs, the principal risk with PCBs with humans is probably children, really young kids, eating sand, and even with those models, you'd have to just eat like a fuckload of sand.
Dude,
like
not
literally
let your
just
kid-
sit on the beach.
I'll let your kid hang out at fucking Swan Island, first of all.
Right. But the interesting thing with PCBs too that I find interesting is just rivers are such an emotional thing with people. You know, it's like I find it interesting how like your typical person who's driving around right now would have no problem going into a Portland public pool that smells so bad of chlorine. You get out, your hair is completely fried.
I love that shit.
Your swimsuit is probably just fucked up because it's so bleached. And that's not a problem.
My eyes are glowing blue. My hair is just like the perfect texture.
People
It's all
might
bleached out.
eat at McDonald's Big Mac or whatever.
Yes.
And that's totally unhealthy. But somehow, there's this extreme level of scrutiny with the river. And I don't mean to downplay the risk of PCBs, and I'm excited with the idea that it's going to be cleaned up. But that is north of the Broadway Bridge. Downtown is, the water column is fine. Outside of this one area we're working on, Audrey McCall Beach, this one of the projects we're working on over the last 3 years, Human Access Project moved 140 tons of concrete by hand with assistance with inmate work crews. The only way we could get permission.
Inmate workers?
Yeah, from Inverness.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome. They loved it. It's
Right?
great work. Yeah,
Do they?
they do.
If I was in Inverness, I'd be stoked to go work
Fuck
on
yeah!
the river.
Are you kidding? I mean, it was hilarious because I started working.
They're all big
I was working side by side with the Inverness work crew. So first time out, like they had a lunch break, and I just wanted to, try to be right on the level with all the people from the Inverness work crew. I was like, all right, I'm gonna have lunch with you guys. The bologna sandwiches those guys had to eat were just so fucking disgusting. So finally, the guy who was supervising said, it's okay if you buy a pizza. I was like, really? Okay, cool. Excellent. If you ever want to feel like a badass, buy an inmate work crew a pizza. That's all I gotta say. It's just like, whoa, Sprite and pizza. It's cool, but you know what? Because here's the thing. I love the work. I never imagined as an adult, how fortunate I am to be able to spend so much of my time doing this. But to be able to volunteer to work with inmates, I guess I kind of never imagined I would volunteer to work on an inmate work crew. But here's the thing. You start a project at the beginning of the day, you see something fucked up. At the end of the day, you've unfucked it up a little bit. It feels fucking great. Habitat restoration is awesome work.
It absolutely is. Okay, so tell us real quick about the Big Float itself.
Big Float.
That's kind of,
Yeah, that's our big thing. So, first year we had 1,000 people participate in the Big Float.
What is it, first of all?
The Big Float is a movement disguised as a party. So it's a way to get Portland people.
In a river that might or might not have poop in it, you shouldn't call it a movement.
It is a movement. It is a movement. But ultimately the idea is that it's kind of a sit-in on the water. It's an opportunity to demonstrate to people in Portland that you can get in the river, and when you get out, you're not going to have gills and horns, and your skin's not going to flake off. Because when you have 1,000 people with smiles on their faces having fun, at a certain point you have to question, well, maybe it's not as fucked up as I thought. And that's the beginning. Because there's a lot of people in Portland whose mind is completely closed to the idea that you can swim in the river. So if you can take somebody from the idea that I would never swim in that fucking river to, you know what, it might not kill me. You've just moved infinity. You've taken somebody from zero to something, and from there you can start kind of talking to them and helping them, hopefully, consider the relationship with the Willamette and reconcile their relationship with the Willamette. Because ultimately...
That's the phrase I love. Reconcile your relationship with the Willamette.
Yeah, because to me, what's really awesome about it is I feel like there's a lot of people in Portland that do have guilt about what has been done with the Willamette. The beauty is, the Willamette is ready to take you back. It's responded to... It is. The Willamette has responded to all the good work that's been done. It doesn't hate you. It wants you to swim in it and be stewards of it and love it. And that's kind of what the Big Float is about. It's get everybody together and celebrate the Willamette and demonstrate to people in Portland that the Willamette is not something you should be afraid of.
So we get on an inner tube, we get on a floaty, we get around.
So
what do we meet? What does it look like?
Any non-motorized motorcraft, we do have some safety vehicles that are out, but we meet at the Tomahawk Bowl. We're led by a 15-piece marching drum corps, last regiment of syncopated drummers, if anybody knows that group.
What? You're rapping faster than Toledo now. Say that again.
We're led by the last regiment of syncopated drummers. It's a 15-piece
Syncopated?
Syncopated. They're badass. Yeah, it's a marching drum corps.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So if you ever, it's like when you're marching behind the last regiment of syncopated drummers, you feel like you can march through a concrete wall. I mean, just the power of
as long as it's not motorized, you can float.
As long as it's not motorized.
Last year I saw a dude who was floating on a midget. I said, hey, why are you floating on a midget? He said, short trip.
Jesse, I think I have an idea. Bear with me. Just giant floating bomb.
Right.
Would that be cool? Giant floating bomb. Can we do that?
Floating bomb would be totally acceptable.
All right, sweet Jesse. Can you get like the scientist on it, dude?
I don't know any scientists.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
we-
they were
are we talking-
No, please.
Are we talking about floating on the back of this?
We're talking about floating on the Willamette.
Okay, so I've only floated on the back of this, and when you float, just wear a vest, because I really got pulled over on the river. Like, they pulled me over and gave me a ticket for not having a vest.
Yeah, for the big float, everybody
I still
is
owe
required to
money
wear
for
life
that,
vests.
too.
Really?
Yeah.
I still owe money for that.
Yeah, well, just to be extra safe, because I mean the thing is with the
The
big
way the law
float,
works is
I don't want to take any. There's more at stake than any opportunity for somebody to have an incident. So for me, I over-engineer the event for safety. We sell life jackets through the website at cost for $8, so it's very accessible
That's
for people.
very
The cost is only $6 to participate in the big float prior to July 13th, because we don't want cost to be a barrier for entry. And all proceeds go to Human Access Project. It's 100% volunteer organization.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, two things.
There's a book years ago written called Ecotopia. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It was a book about Oregon, Washington, and Northern California seceding from the Union. So I'm not in favor of secession, but it's really kind of the founding of idea of Cascadia. It was create an ecological.
A little more to the microphone, please.
It was supposed to be.
There you go. There you go.
You did the first part. Anyway, so
The
Ernest
first part was boring.
Ernest Callenbach, who wrote Ecotopia, wrote a prequel called Ecotopia Emerging about how they became an independent country. And what it starts off with is a flotilla going down the Willamette about the environment. So it's kind of interesting that you're doing this, and it's like, I've had friends who have suggested, let's have a flotilla go down the Willamette. So that's
So you're in.
It's a really fun time. I mean, since we started the first year, we had 1,000 people. We've grown by 25% each year. We're targeting 3,000 people on the Willamette this year. I think it's very doable. It's July 27th. There's more information at thebigfloat.com.
So what do people have
Is
to
there a
expect when
Facebook
they
invite?
Yes, Big Float 4.
Yeah, Big Float 4 on Facebook. Yes.
Make sure it's the one that says 4, not the bus, the one that stole the name on the placards.
That's
I mean, really, it's not that clever. You can't be like,
It's not that clever.
two people come up with that.
And actually, the name Big Float was inspired by the Big Pipe. The idea was to bring attention to the Big Pipe, so instead of the Big Pipe, the Big Float. That was where the genesis came from.
What are you gonna do if something comes up with a bigger float? Then you're fucked.
We're fucked. What are we gonna do to that?
So what
Can I change it now?
does it look like when they get across the river? So you
actually
float
don't-
across the
We
river.
don't float across the river, actually. We stay on the west side of the river. We take out a tunnel called where we started. Then we have a barge with 2 bands on it. Looks like Scott Pemberton is going to be our opener. Still working on our second
Scott
one.
Pemberton, the guy who sold me fake pubes.
Are you sure they're fake DNA tested? They might have been the real deal.
Was it real?
Is that his name?
Tenderman. Scott Tenderman.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Alright, my bad.
Yeah, wow. I'm glad I know because I was actually looking for some cubes, so I'm glad you know nothing about it from Scott.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have barges floating?
We're gonna have a band barge with 2 bands, so you can take in a concert from your inner tube. And the after party, we have bounce houses, free chair massages, pair. The art organization is going to be having an interactive art project. We're going to be encouraging adults and children to express themselves through art about the Willamette. Hopefully open people up, because we all here understand the power of expressing yourself, and there's not enough opportunities for humans in general to have that opportunity to express themselves. So that's a really important passion of mine. And